Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Returnal just got a
Yeah.
big free DLC called Ascension.
hmm
So, Doug, huge fan of Returnal. I feel like it ended up in your Game of the Year-ish area last year. I don't remember
Yeah,
if
it
it
was up
was.
there. It was up there, and I replaying it, like playing now the DLC, kind of reminded me that I really, really do like this game. So yes.
Yeah, so what is this DLC? I'm going to be honest, I played Returnal and it has a lot of things that I don't care for, so I dropped out of it, but I didn't even bother looking at this. Is it story DLC?
Mhm.
Is it just like new modes? Is it new stuff? Like, I feel like if we're talking about it, it's got to be something bigger.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. It's story DLC, which is kind of fun. It's I feel like in other games, like if like, oh hey, we have a new DLC mode, you go from a main menu and you go like select this new mode,
Yeah.
this new mode's like a separate thing. But the thing that's kind of cool about Returnal is like every piece of it is kind of built into the universe. So this one is called the Returnal Ascension, and when you boot up the game, you respawn the same area you always do, but now there's like a tower off in the distance, and all you do is like you hop up to a door, you go to a tower, and there's a bunch of new dialogue. Like I would say that the thing that's kind of neat is it's so well integrated in the main game that it just feels like it was always there, which is kind of
Oh, that's
neat.
cool.
And they kind of talk a little bit about that, how I was like, why is the tower here now on my whatever return sort of thing. So basically, what it is, I had this kind of like sadness for what it is. So what it is, it's an infinite sort of arena shooter sort of thing. So like what it is, like you go to one level, there's like five enemies that spawn, you kill your five enemies, you go to the next level, five enemies spawn, kill them, next
Yeah.
one, next one, next one.
Yeah.
You get upgrades and stuff along the way. I think the part that made me sad about it is that it's really really fun. It's awesome. It feels like the best Returnal has ever felt for sure, because it's so snappy. But the thing that kind of made me sad is that it pulls out everything that makes Returnal unique, and it feels like somehow it's a better game as a result, which is a real
Oh, weird.
bummer.
What do you mean
Yeah,
by that?
so in Returnals, so the big thing with like Returnal, that kind of spun it like kind of turned the roguelike genre around. It's a lot of cool exploration stuff. So when you're going through a randomly generated level, there's like side things you can go off of. You can go check out here, maybe find a new upgrade, but it pulls out that exploration completely. But as a result, there's no more dead time anymore. And because Returnal's combat is like so fast and furious,
Mm-hmm.
it feels really, really good to skip over that exploration part and just go to the next arena. And the arenas aren't. It's really gorgeous too, which is it's cool. It's like it's there's a lot of new unique art assets. So the arenas themselves, though, they're not very. They look very returnally, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But they're really simple setups, kind of like you think of like an Unreal Tournament level
Okay.
or like an old school deathmatch thing, where it's like he's clearly an octagon shape with clearly these ramps here and these ramps here. So it doesn't look very non-gamey. It's like extremely gamey arena. You do extremely gamey combat, and it kind of feels like it betrays a bit of the returnalness of it, but it's insanely fun as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that you were kind of talking about, it's like you didn't like having to invest, like because you felt like you did so much and
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
because you had done so much exploring. I went through every nook and cranny, and then it didn't matter at the end.
Yep.
And this one's like, well, we don't do any of that anymore, so it's like it feels much more like a classic arcade game as a result.
More like a normal
Um,
Housemark game.
yes, and normal Housemarque
Mm.
games are super fun.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and but so I felt this kind of like this like push and pull of like this is so amazing, this plays so well. I guess some of the other things that are really cool is they add in like story context of why it's there. I think one of the cool things that Returnal did is that you kept picking up video recordings of past and future versions of her going through the
Yep.
loop, and they have more of those recordings now of her like exploring the tower. Why is it here? It's a plays a little bit of like a story sequel as well. I'm trying.
Does it fit in post
Yeah.
game, or does it like insert, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like some DLC there's like post game, like after the story next thing, or does it slide in as a chunk of the story? Or does that not
So
matter because Returnal's weird in the
it
way it
doesn't
tells the
matter. Yeah,
story?
because Returnal Story, Returnal Story doesn't really have a post. um, no, so it's all part of like the weird, I guess, etherealness of
Okay.
Returnal, and I feel like I would have to kind of spoiler the main conceit of the plot of like
Gotcha.
there's kind of a spoiler that you have to kind of reveal in order to explain why. And the thing that's interesting is that I think in order to enter the DLC, so how Returnal worked initially, it's like when you beat the first boss, you got a new special equipment. Beat the second boss, you get new special equipment, so on and so forth. I think you need to have at least beaten the second boss to do it. Maybe the third boss. So it's not something you can just like boot in, because I know you didn't like Returnal too much.
I was just gonna say, I was like, the whole time we were talking, I was just thinking, like, man, maybe I should just boot this up because it's just like classic Housemarque. Like, that's really what I want. And then I don't think maybe I beat the second boss. I know I beat the first one. I don't know. Anyway,
you need the grapple hook. So if anybody has not gotten the if you're playing Returnal and you haven't gotten the grapple hook, you can't do this DLC. But I was surprised because I mean that's all you need to do. So it's like it's not that far in the game before you can get into it. I was just surprised, I guess, overall of how high production value it was. I wasn't really expecting. Well, they kind of explained what it was. Like, oh, it's this infinite mode. I wasn't really expecting too much from it.
yeah,
but it is absolutely gorgeous because the tower's broken up into 3 or 4 different like sections. And the first section is kind of like Returnal area. You're literally going up a tower. But the second part, the tower is kind of like exploded, and the arenas are kind of like floating islands. So like you're warping from one island to the other once you beat it.
mm-hmm.
So instead of just like the screen fades to black or whatever, you actually hit a warp portal. Your character turns into a ball of light, and then you're flying all the way around it. So you land in the next arena. You beat that arena. You fly around so you get to the next one, and you beat that arena. Cool. It is cool, and they add some new weapons as well. They add like kind of a super weapon. I guess it's kind of odd that this one didn't have it, but like every Housemarque game has like, you know, even if it's just like a bomb that clears the screen. But they now have a sort of version of that where it's like a crazy super weapon that you can barely control, which is really fun. And it just like destroys everything in sight. It's just and I mean, there's not much to it. There's a new boss that I really, really enjoyed. It's really short though, and this is probably what this review is going to end in about 2 minutes. There's a new boss, and there's a certain point that you get to where the infiniteness kind of plateaus. You upgraded your character all the way. It's like as far as your character can get upgraded. And then the game kind of plateaus, and then it's at that point it gets harder, but not. You're not playing so much with the upgrades and stuff. You're kind of just like coasting until you die.
Can I get the high score essentially?
Yeah, exactly. It is cool. Like there's a leaderboard and all that sort of thing.
So
it was interesting. There's only 10,000 people on the leaderboard, which didn't seem like a lot.
It seems like a very low number.
Yeah, so you can get pretty high on the leaderboard.
Doug is sitting there at top 100.
Yeah, no, not that high. But
yeah. So I guess it's infinite, but there's an end. And again, maybe this is just the weird Returnal thing. There's clearly an ending point for like story content, and then everything past that's just like more of the same. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I guess the story point. I don't want to explain. So the story point, there's a new sort of house section. So in the original Returnal game, there's these weird little first person sections. I know you know what these are. I'm explaining this audience. There's these weird first person section scenes where you kind of go through like a spooky area, and it's a house. And in this one, it's a spooky area, but it's a hospital.
Okay.
And you need to go through the loop a certain amount of like through that infinite tower super amount of times. You pick an item up every time or almost every time you go through it. And once you collect all those items, you go back to that hospital, and then something happens. And I didn't do that. I didn't do like the final completion thing of going through it 6 times, because I went through it twice in about 3 hours. And in like my second run, I beat the boss. Like I beat the final boss, and it's just like, okay, go through this 6 more times. And it's like, well,
I already did it.
I beat the final boss of this thing. It's like, I don't want to go through this more times if I've done the thing. Like I did the thing.
I feel like this is going back to our first Returnal review, which was literally going like, I don't know, everybody's bitching so much about how hard this game was. I beat it in 3 tries.
I did have a little bit of that moment. Something about this game really clicks for me. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm pretty good at this game. I'm not gonna. I will toot my own horn. I can be good at like one game. I can be good at Tony Hawk, and I can be good at Returnal.
Got my game from game from the early 2000s and my game from now.
But regardless, I think if anybody's played Returnal, like this is definitely worth going back to. Like it's just to freshen up on playing some Returnal. I think it's a good way too, because it's much more, it allows you to hop in and hop out much easier than I think a Returnal run where you really have to be really invested. I think this takes out that investment that that a Returnal run would normally have, which is again good, but makes me a little sad.
So like a run through this infinite thing is like not a like hours long excursion. It's just like okay, I did it for a little bit now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you die because it has that sort of infinite towerness to it, there's not. It's so okay. So in Returnal, you essentially have to beat the game. Like you have to beat the game in one run in order to see the end. And this one doesn't really have that sort of. So if I die in a run in Returnal, it's like holy shit! I played 75% of this game and I died right at the end. I have to play 75. But this one is just like it's. But this one it's just like it's just arena fights. So you're not feeling like you're missing out on anything. You're not feeling you don't feel like you're missing out on anything by not doing it. And actually, the 6 items that you need to unlock the final story sequence or whatever, you can get those pretty early on in your runs. So you could essentially get those items and restart pretty quickly to get those things. So like that's what I'm saying. It takes out a lot of that investment of a run because you don't have to get to you don't feel bad. I mean, it sucks when you die, but it sucks in the way that you like lost a quarter rather than I didn't get to see the end of this game because exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. I like DLCs that kind of mess with the formula a little bit. I think that's way more fun than just here's a new level. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It feels like more Returnal, which I really enjoyed. I didn't think that this. I thought because it was free, I just was expecting a new mode. But it's like it's actually more Returnal, which is great.
Cool. Yeah. All right, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming or subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.